Hello and welcome to Charch Chat. I am Paul Charchian from LeagueSafe.com. Thanks for joining us here at Open Sports. It is time for a sneak attack passing style. Do this towards the end of every week where we talk about some of the players that are not normally in your starting lineup, but for whatever reason have a good opportunity to have a big game this week. And many of these players are guys you can pick up off the waiver wire and start this week. It's week 16. Many of you are in the fantasy championship. Frankly, you should be running your championship in week 16. You already know that. Let's get into the players. I've got 5 for you today. I've got 2 quarterbacks, 2 receivers, and 1 tight end. As a little tip of the hat to all the emailers who asked me to talk more tight ends in this segment. So yeah, I'll do that. Okay, let's go with start with the quarterbacks. We begin with Dan Orlovsky as he goes up against New Orleans. And as you probably know, New Orleans already banged up on defense. Mike McKenzie out for the year. Kevin Carmelcorn is out for the year, and that's a defense that's really struggled against the pass over the last about 5-6 games. And the Saints secondary, one that definitely can get picked on. But the question is, does Dan Orlovsky have what it takes? Well, here's what we do know: Calvin Johnson does. Johnson scores in every situation, no matter the quarterback, no matter the opponent, the field conditions, the weather, whatever. He scores. So you figure Orlovsky's good for 1 touchdown at minimum to Calvin Johnson. And then you look at, the rest of that squad. There's not a lot of notables, but maybe throws 2 to Johnson. Maybe, it's a swing pass to Kevin Smith. Maybe just drums up another touchdown some way. I think 1.5 touchdowns is a reasonable expectation from Dan Orlovsky. Only Jamarcus Russell has failed to score against New Orleans this year. So he's going to get one. And if your roster is such that you're just looking for a good, not great game, nothing that's going to hurt you, then maybe Orlovsky's the guy. If you subtract for interceptions, maybe not. Let's talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick, my next guy. In the last 5 games in a row, he has faced a murderer's row of defenses that all rank in the top 7 against the pass. Imagine 5 straight games against top 7 defenses. And here it is, he's getting some of his very first starts of his year. I mean, he started a lot this year, but, he's still a very young quarterback learning on the job, coming from a non-pro style offense, to say the least, in Harvard. So he's certainly smart enough, and he's actually played pretty well. I'm pretty impressed with him. Now this week, he gets a much easier defense in Cleveland, merely a middle-of-the-pack pass defense that will feel a lot easier for him. The Browns have allowed multiple passing touchdowns in 5 of the last 8 games, and so really like Ryan Fitzpatrick here to have a much better game than he's done lately. The fact that he only threw 4 interceptions against these great pass defenses over those 5 weeks really impressed me a lot. And they're not asking him to go out and win a lot of games, but they are opening up the reins a little bit, and he's also not a half-bad runner. So there's something there to Fitzpatrick, and I think he's a nice sneaky play this week. Next, Kevin Walter goes up against Oakland. 2 factors for you on Walter. Number 1, the Nnamdi Asomugha factor, right? Asomugha is going to spend a lot of his time working on Andre Johnson, wouldn't you? He just can't have a 200-yard game. So Asomugha's going to spend a lot of time on Johnson. Now, that means, as is usually the case, the second receiver in Oakland's a better start than the first receiver in Oakland. And, the number 2 and 3 guys have scored more touchdowns against Oakland than the number 1 guys, opposing receivers. So definitely like Walter. And then the factor number 2 is this weird even-numbered factor. He's scored in every even-numbered week. He's scored 7 touchdowns in 6 even-numbered weeks. He averages 94 yards in even-numbered weeks. Kevin Walter, I mean, you look at his odd-numbered weeks, and it's a disaster. He has 1 touchdown. It was in week 1. And he's averaging 34 yards in odd-numbered weeks. He's definitely an even-numbered week guy, and it's week 16. He's due. So I don't know what to make of that totally, and it's probably just coincidence. Maybe just as a guy where he has a good game and then he has to rest for a game, or I don't know. But there it is, and you can decide what you want to do with that bit. Next, Steve Breston. I liked Breston even before there was talk that Anquan Boldin may not be available for this game. If Boldin does not play, Breston's a fantastic start against New England. New England has allowed the 2nd most passing touchdowns in the NFL. Warner and the Cardinals humiliated last week, and I think they come out guns blazing in this one, and they throw. The Patriots so much better against the run than they are against the pass. That's not a good matchup for an offense in Arizona that's really designed for the pass and not the run. So he's a great start if Boldin doesn't play. Now, if Boldin does play, he's still a good start because New England's that bad, and he's that active as a number 3 guy. As the number 3 receiver for the Cardinals, he's actually putting up numbers that are better than a lot of teams' number 1 receiver or number 2 receiver. So I still think Breston's a good start, even if Boldin goes. And then lastly, the tight end position. I promised I'd get to that. I'm taking the easy way out, and that's to pick on San Diego. San Diego, if you don't like it, too bad, because I pick on you a lot. You need to stop being the team that allows the most yards, receptions, and touchdowns to opposing tight ends. And it's not even close. They're getting destroyed through the middle. Ron Rivera needs to make some changes here, fix this. He hasn't yet. So let's go with Jeremy Stevens. Even Alex Smith in a pinch, although I like Stevens better. He's he's more the pass-catching tight end they use in Tampa. He's certainly somebody that you could use if you've been playing sort of tight end a week, the rotating tight end every week, and that might be somebody that you could go with. So Jeremy Stevens, there you have it. All right, 5 guys, all sneak attacks this week from the passing game. Let's go through them one last time. Dan Orlovsky, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Kevin Walter, Steve Bruston, and Jeremy Stevens. Best of luck to you in a championship week for most of you. Hopefully, many of you will be back next week to celebrate.
So you think you can tackle a pro? There's only one way to find out. Click on fantasy at opensports.com.